There are moments in life that don't just disturb you, they shake you to your core. Moments where what you thought was permanent, what you thought was powerful, what you thought could never be moved is suddenly gone. There comes a moment and you don't expect it. It doesn't send you a warning. It doesn't knock on the door politely. It just arrives suddenly, violently, and everything inside you freezes. 1 second, life feels stable, predictable, safe, and the next something shifts. Something you trusted is no longer there. Something you believed was unshakable is shaken. Something you thought could never be taken is gone. And in that instant, your heart drops. Not slowly, but like a stone sinking into deep water. You feel it in your chest. A tightness, a weight, a silence that is louder than noise. You try to process it, but your mind resists. This can't be happening. This isn't real. There must be some mistake, but deep down you know. This is real, and that's when the shock truly begins. It's not just about what happened. It's about what it does to you. Because suddenly, the world doesn't feel the same anymore. The ground beneath you feels uncertain. The things you relied on feel fragile. You begin to question everything. If this could happen, what else can? If this can be taken away, what is actually secure? If this wasn't permanent, then what is? And those questions, they echo. They don't just pass through your mind, they settle into your soul. This is the wake-up shock. Not just an event, but a realization. A realization that life is not as controlled as you believed. That certainty is more fragile than it appears. That the things we hold onto the tightest are sometimes the very things that slip away. And in that moment, something inside you begins to tremble, because part of you was built on that stability. Part of your identity, your confidence, your peace was connected to what just changed. And now, it feels like a piece of you has been pulled out. You feel exposed, vulnerable, almost like you're standing without shelter in the middle of a storm. And the hardest part, no one else can fully feel what you feel. They may see it, they may hear about it, but they don't carry the weight of it in their chest the way you do. So you stand there caught between disbelief and pain, trying to hold yourself together while everything inside you is asking, "What now?" But listen carefully, because hidden inside that shock is something powerful. That moment, as painful as it is also a doorway to awareness, because before this, you were moving through life assuming things would remain as they were. You trusted what you saw, you leaned on what felt stable, but now your eyes are opening. You're beginning to see that not everything is guaranteed. Not everything is permanent. Not everything deserves the level of trust you once gave it. And yes, it hurts. But sometimes truth hurts before it heals. Sometimes the shock is necessary because without it, you would never question. Without it, you would never awaken. Without it, you would keep building your life on things that cannot last. So, even though your heart is heavy, even though your thoughts are spinning, even though you feel shaken to your core, don't ignore this moment. Because this shock is not just breaking something, it's revealing something. It's showing you that there is more to life than what you depended on. That there is a deeper foundation waiting to be found. That there is a strength within you that has not yet been awakened. And right now you may feel lost, but sometimes you have to be shaken before you can truly wake up. After the shock settles, something even deeper begins to unfold. It's not loud, it's not sudden, it's quiet, almost unsettling. It's the realization that what you thought you were holding was never really yours to control. You start replaying everything in your mind. All the plans you made, all the expectations you built, all the certainty you felt when you said, "This will last, this won't change, this is secure." And now those words feel different, because life just showed you something you didn't want to see. Control was an illusion. You believed that if you worked hard enough, planned carefully enough, held on tightly enough, you could secure your world. You believed that your effort guaranteed stability, that your awareness guaranteed safety, that your strength guaranteed permanence. But now you're standing in a moment that proves otherwise, and it's uncomfortable, because letting go of that illusion feels like losing something real. It feels like the ground beneath you has disappeared. You begin to ask yourself questions you never asked before. If I'm not in control, then who is? If things can change without warning, then what can I rely on? If my plans can fall apart, then what do I hold onto? And those questions don't come with easy answers. They sit with you, they stretch you, they make you feel small in a way you've never felt before, because the truth is, we don't like uncertainty. We don't like not knowing what comes next. We don't like feeling like something greater than us can shift everything in a moment. So what do? We try to control more, we overthink, we overplan, we hold on tighter, we try to force outcomes trying to regain that feeling of certainty we just lost. But the more you try to control everything, the more exhausted you become. Because deep down something inside you knows you can't control everything. You can't stop every change, you can't predict every outcome, you can't protect yourself from every loss. And accepting that feels terrifying at first. It feels like surrender, like weakness, like giving up. But it's not. It's actually the beginning of freedom. Because the illusion of control doesn't just give you comfort, it also gives you pressure. It tells you that everything depends on you, that if something goes wrong, it's your fault, that if things fall apart, you failed. And that weight is heavy, too heavy. But when that illusion breaks, you begin to see something differently. You begin to realize that your role was never to control everything. Your role was to respond, to stand in whatever comes your way and choose who you will be in that moment. You may not control the storm, but you can control how you stand in the rain. You may not control what is taken, but you can control what you become after the loss. And that shift changes everything, because now, instead of exhausting yourself trying to control the uncontrollable, you begin to focus on something real. Your mindset, your choices, your resilience, and slowly, something inside you starts to stabilize again. Not because the world became predictable, but because you stopped depending on it to be. You start to understand that true strength doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from trusting yourself within it, from knowing that no matter what changes, no matter what is removed, no matter what you didn't see coming, you will find a way to stand again. And that realization is stronger than any illusion you once believed in, because control can be taken away in a moment. But inner strength, that's something no moment can steal. After the illusion begins to break, something heavier settles in. It's not just the situation anymore, it's not just what happened, it's what's happening inside you . Because when your outer world shakes, your inner world doesn't stay silent. It reacts, and sometimes it collapses. You wake up, and there's a weight in your chest you can't explain. You try to move forward, but your energy feels drained before the day even begins. Your thoughts, they don't flow peacefully anymore. They race, they repeat, they trap you. One negative thought becomes two become 10, And before you realize it, your mind feels like it's working against you. You start hearing things like, what if it gets worse? What if I never recover? What if this is how it stays? And the hardest part is, those thoughts feel real, not because they are true, but because you feel them so deeply. Your heart starts to carry fear like it's a constant companion. Your confidence begins to shrink. Even small things begin to feel overwhelming. You hesitate more, you doubt more, you question yourself in ways you never did before, and then comes the silence. That quiet moment when you're alone with your thoughts, no distractions, no noise, just you and everything going on inside you. And that's when it hits the hardest, because you realize you're not just dealing with what happened around you. You're dealing with what it's doing to you. It feels like something inside you is breaking apart. Like the version of you that once felt strong, certain steady is slipping through your fingers, and you don't know how to stop it. You try to stay positive, but it feels forced. You try to stay strong, but you feel tired. You try to move on, but something keeps pulling you back. And slowly, negativity starts to take root, not all at once, but little by little, a doubt here, a fear there, a moment of hopelessness that lingers longer than it should, until one day you look at yourself and think, when did I start feeling like this? And that question hurts. Because you remember who you used to be, you remember the confidence, the clarity, the peace, and now it feels distant. Almost like you're watching a version of yourself that you can't fully reach anymore. But listen carefully, because this is the part most people misunderstand. This inner collapse doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are human. It means something affected you deeply enough to shake your core. It means your mind is trying to process something it wasn't prepared for. And yes, it feels overwhelming, but it's not permanent, because even in the middle of that chaos, something is still there, something quiet but powerful. The part of you that is still aware, the part of you that is still observing, the part of you that is still asking, how do I get through this? That part hasn't collapsed. It may feel buried under fear, doubt, and pain, but it's still there. And that matters, because as long as that part of you exists, there is a way forward, even if you can't see it clearly yet, even if you don't feel strong yet, even if your thoughts are still heavy and your heart still feels tired. This is not where your story ends. Yes, your inner world feels shaken. Yes, negativity has made its way in. Yes, it feels like you've lost something within yourself. But you haven't lost everything, because the very fact that you feel this means you still care, and the very fact that you're still here means something inside you hasn't given up. And that is where your strength is waiting to rise again. And then something begins to shift, not outside. Not in your circumstances, but deep within you. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no sudden breakthrough, no dramatic moment where everything feels fixed. It's quieter than that. It starts with a thought barely noticeable. A thought that says, I can't stay like this. After everything you felt. The fear, the doubt, the heaviness, you reach a point where something inside you resists the darkness. Not because it's easy, but because something in you knows this isn't who you're meant to remain. And that moment, that quiet resistance, is the turning point. You may still feel broken, you may still feel uncertain, but now there's a spark, a realization that maybe, just maybe, your strength doesn't come from what's around you. Maybe it never did, because everything around you changed, everything you leaned on shifted, everything you thought defined your stability proved it couldn't hold. And yet, you're still here, breathing, thinking, searching. That means something. It means there is a part of you that wasn't destroyed by the storm. A part of you that didn't collapse when everything else did, and now you begin to notice it. At first, it feels small. A single moment where you choose not to believe a negative thought. A single decision to get up even when you don't feel like it. A single breath where you say, asterisk, I'm still here. Asterisk, it doesn't feel powerful, but it is, because strength doesn't always appear as something loud or dramatic. Sometimes strength is simply continuing. Continuing when your mind tells you to stop. Continuing when your emotions feel heavy. Continuing when nothing around you has improved yet. And as you continue, something begins to grow. That small spark becomes a steady flame. You begin to realize that while you couldn't control what happened, you can control what happens asterisk asterisk within you now asterisk asterisk. You start catching your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You start choosing your response instead of reacting automatically. When fear whispers, you pause. When doubt rises, you question it. When negativity tries to take over, you don't surrender as quickly as before. And slowly you begin to take back your ground, not the external ground, the things you lost or the situation you faced, but your asterisk asterisk inner ground asterisk asterisk. Your sense of self, your ability to stand, your decision to not let this define you. And that's when something powerful becomes clear. Your strength was never in what you had. It was in who you are. It was hidden beneath comfort, buried beneath certainty, waiting for a moment like this to be revealed. Because sometimes it takes everything being shaken for you to discover what cannot be shaken. And now, even though things may still be uncertain, even though the future may still feel unclear, you're no longer the same person who was overwhelmed at the beginning. There's awareness now, there's resistance, there's a quiet determination building inside you. You may not feel fully strong yet, but you're no longer completely lost. You're turning away from being controlled by fear and toward becoming someone who can stand despite it. And that turning point, it changes everything. Because once you realize that your strength comes from within, not from circumstances, not from control, not from what stays or leaves, then no matter what happens next, you carry something unbreakable inside you, and that is where your true power begins. And now you stand in the middle of it, all aware of the storm inside you. The fear hasn't completely disappeared, the heaviness still visits, the thoughts still try to pull you back into that dark place. But something is different now. You're no longer unaware. You're no longer completely powerless. You see the negativity for what it is. And that's where the real battle begins, because overcoming negative feelings is not about pretending they don't exist. It's not about forcing a smile when your heart feels heavy. It's not about repeating empty words and hoping they magically fix everything. No, it's deeper than that. It's about learning how to stand asterisk asterisk in the presence of those feelings asterisk asterisk without letting them take control of you. At first, it feels impossible. When fear rises, it feels overwhelming. When doubt speaks, it feels convincing. When sadness settles in, it feels permanent. But here's the truth you begin to understand. Feelings are powerful, but they are not permanent. They come like waves, strong, intense, unpredictable, but no wave, no matter how powerful, stays forever. And once you truly realize that something shifts, instead of fighting the feeling, you begin to face it. When fear shows up, you don't run. You pause and you breathe through it. When doubt whispers, you don't immediately believe it. You question it. Is this really true, or is this just my fear speaking? When sadness comes, you don't bury it. You allow yourself to feel it, but not to live in it. And this takes courage because it's easier to escape. It's easier to distract yourself. It's easier to avoid what hurts. But avoidance keeps you trapped. Facing it sets you free. And slowly, step by step, you begin to take your power back. You start replacing reaction with awareness. Instead of instantly falling into negativity, you create a moment of space, a moment where you choose, will I let this thought control me, or will I take control of my response? And that moment is everything, because every time you choose not to surrender to negativity, you grow stronger. Every time you challenge a negative thought, you weaken its hold on you. Every time you stand through a difficult emotion, you prove to yourself that you are more powerful than it. And over time, something incredible happens. The things that once overwhelmed you begin to lose their intensity. The thoughts that once controlled you begin to lose their authority. The feelings that once felt endless begin to pass more quickly. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you became stronger. You begin to understand that your mind is like a battlefield, and not every voice in it deserves to be followed. Some thoughts are built from fear, some from past pain, some from moments when you felt weak, but they are not all truth. And now you have the ability to choose which voice you listen to. You begin to feed the voice that says, I can get through this. You begin to strengthen the belief that says, this is not the end of me. You begin to hold onto the truth that says, I am stronger than what I feel right now. And slowly, your inner world begins to change, not overnight, not perfectly, but steadily, because overcoming negative feelings is not a single moment of victory, it's a daily decision. A decision to keep showing up, to keep choosing awareness over reaction, to keep standing even when it's hard. And one day you'll notice something. The same feelings that once controlled you no longer have the same power. They may still come, but they don't stay, because now you've learned something greater than avoiding pain. You've learned how to rise above it, and that is a strength nothing can take away from you. And after everything, the shock, the loss, the inner battle, the long nights filled with heavy thoughts, something begins to rise. Not suddenly, not loudly, but steadily. It's you, not the same version of you that once depended on everything being stable. Not the version of you that believed nothing would change, but a new version, one that has been shaped in the fire of everything you went through. At first you don't even recognize it, because the pain is still fresh. The memories are still there. The scars, they haven't fully healed. But there's something different in the way you carry yourself. You're not as easily shaken. You're not as easily broken by small things anymore. The things that once would have overwhelmed you now feel different. Not because they don't matter, but because you've changed. You've seen what it feels like to fall. You've felt what it means to lose control. You've faced the weight of your own thoughts and survived them. And that does something to a person. It builds a quiet strength, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself, a strength that doesn't come from everything going right, but from knowing you can stand even when things go wrong. You begin to rebuild, but this time it's different. Before, you may have built your peace on things outside of you, on stability, on people,